Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is a wonderful good morning. I know that we have just finished Giving Tuesday, but as we know, hunger does not have a day. It goes on and on. And of course, we are here gathered to celebrate another day of giving where we have identified hunger as a never-ending crisis, but we know that we have real solutions. I would like first to introduce myself, Mayor Dahlia Vertrice of Hillside, New Jersey. I'm very proud of the Community Food Bank. It is a centrifugal force in fighting hunger and making sure that the most vulnerable needs in the vulnerable population is served. And we're happy to have that light emanating from Hillside. I would first like to introduce a couple of our elected officials that are visiting here today. I had the honor of having dinner with our speaker, Craig Coughlin, who also emphasized during dinner how much he is committed to ending hunger. Speaker Coughlin, will you say hello to everyone? Thank you. I would like to acknowledge Assemblywoman Annette Quijano. Can you say
the speaker's name again?
Craig Coughlin. Assemblywoman Elena Pintor-Marin. Assemblyman Reginald Atkins. Our Union County Commissioners, Lourdes Leon, and Commissioner B.J. Kowalski. Hillside's own Councilman Robert Rios is here today. And of course, the man of the hour, our own Governor Murphy. While these are not our elected officials, these are also our miracle workers. So I would like to acknowledge the Secretary of Agriculture, Doug Fisher. Mark Dinglizan, the Director of the Office of Food Security Advocacy. And the other man of the hour, our CEO of the Community Food Bank, Carlos Rodriguez. At this time, I would like to turn the mic over to our prestigious governor, Phil Murphy.
Thank you, Dahlia. That was well done. Thank you, Dahlia. Very good to be back. This is a very special place in our state, and that includes for me. So, Dahlia, thank you, the great mayor of Hillside. Thank you for welcoming us so warmly. Member of council with you as well. Let's hear it for Mayor Dahlia Vertrice. My thanks as well to President and CEO Carlos Rodriguez, another great friend and leader, and his amazing team for once again welcoming us to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. This is truly one of the most impactful and transformational organizations in our state. Let's hear it for Carlos and his team. Equally honored to be joined by the Speaker of the General Assembly. Let's hear his name one more time, Craig Coughlin. I might add, who has made tackling food insecurity one of the pillars of his leadership, and I applaud him for that. And to the other elected officials, Assemblywoman Annette Quijano, who's been an equally strong advocate on food insecurity in the legislature. Chairwoman Ileana Pintor-Marin, congratulations on Portugal's success so far in the World Cup. By the way, can we hear it one time for the United States of America? Assemblyman Reginald Atkins, who celebrated his 28th wedding anniversary last evening. Reginald, congratulations, buddy. Lourdes and BJ and the commissioners, great to have you. As I mentioned, members of council. With us, as was already acknowledged, our State Agricultural Secretary, the one and only Doug Fisher. Human Services Commissioner is coming. Is Sarah here? Sarah, you're masked up there. I apologize. Human Services Commissioner Sarah Edelman, great to have you with us. Fishing for applause here. our state's food security advocate, Mark Dingleson, who's a dear friend. By the way, the only state food security advocate in these United States of America. The CEO of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, Tim Sullivan, is in the house. Many board members and friends of this great organization, but one guy I want to give a particular shout out, and that is to Josh Weinrich, because he stepped into the breach in the depths and the darkest moments of the pandemic and ran the Pandemic Relief Fund, worked with my wife and many other souls to raise and distribute $82 million in short order. Josh, thank you for that and for always. And to the other members of the board, thank you for everything you do. So with Thanksgiving just behind us and Christmas just before us, we are continually reminded that while many New Jersey families have again been blessed with much, there are entirely too many families who are just hoping to get enough. These are the families who are turning to the community food bank or to the soup kitchens or food pantries within their home communities to make their holidays meaningful, if not plentiful. Tammy and I and a couple of our kids were working with John and Dorothea Bon Jovi last week at their Soul Kitchen, and seeing it up close and personal is a transformational experience that we all need to have. May this never become abstract for any of us. Meeting the needs of our families isn't something that the folks here or in any of the other food bank or community pantries only do around this time of year. This is truly a year-round effort. Since hunger does not take a day off, neither do they. So the work of our largest food banks, the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, Fulfill Monmouth and Ocean, the Food Bank of South Jersey, Mercer Street Friends Food Bank, Norwest Cap, and the Southern Regional Food Distribution Center, their collective work is dependent upon a diverse range of contributions, whether it be a contribution of food or of money or maybe a couple of hours spent helping out. These operations could not run without the support of countless individuals, partnering nonprofits, and leading corporate citizens. And I am pleased to add to this a contributor from the state of New Jersey. The budget that I signed, and I want to thank the legislators led by the Speaker who got that budget to my desk. The budget I signed several months ago is providing throughout the year a total of $85 million in direct support to these 6 organizations. This funding is going a long way to helping to fill financial gaps to ensure there are no gaps on the shelves. And I have to also add that this is not all that we're doing to combat hunger. Led again by the Speaker and in partnership with the Senate President, Union County's own, I might add, Nick Scuteri, and working with my administration, we have enacted multiple new laws to help connect those who face food insecurity with the resources and meals they need to reduce food waste and to spur the elimination of food deserts. We have created, as I mentioned earlier, the Office of the Food Security Advocate within our administration, headed by the aforementioned Mark Dingleson, who joined us, I think, in August. Does that sound right, Mark? About right? In this new role, Mark is helping to coordinate the administration of our food insecurity programs. He's advocating for the food insecure, and he's developing new policy initiatives to combat hunger and facilitate greater access to food relief programs. I'm also particularly proud of the laws I signed this past September, which greatly expanded access to free and nutritious school breakfasts and lunches for thousands of New Jersey school children, while also ensuring that parents and guardians are more fully aware of the school-based meal and nutrition programs that are available to them. The New Jersey Economic Development Authority, under Tim's leadership, has also joined us in the fight against food insecurity. A shining example, and by the way, I believe first in nation and maybe still only in nation. I think Tim is nodding to both. In that example is the Sustain and Serve NJ program, an idea that was born in the depths of the pandemic. Sustain and Serve has provided direct grants to nonprofit organizations to work with restaurants in their own backyards to provide meals for individuals and families who are facing food insecurity. Since Sustain and Serve was inaugurated, it has provided more than $52 million to 36 nonprofit organizations, by the way, at least one in every one of our 21 counties. And they have in turn partnered with 442 restaurants, by the way, all of them small businesses and probably businesses that may have gone out of business but for this program. And in aggregate, they have purchased, you ready for this, more than 3.7 million meals. This has been one of our greatest win-wins. Our restaurants got a lifeline to do what they love to do, feed people, and as I mentioned, to stay in business. And those in their communities who needed a hot meal got one. The EDA also created, I feel like the Ginsu knife commercial. If that wasn't enough, let me act now. No, wait. The EDA, I suspect many of you were not expecting to hear the words Ginsu knife at this presentation this morning. The EDA has also created its Food Security Planning Grant, which is providing up to $125,000 to local governments to come up with plans for transforming abandoned or vacant properties in one of our state's 50 designated food deserts to improve food security, whether it be for a new grocery store or a farmer's market or urban agriculture, among other uses. And by the way, the application window for this program has been extended to December 20th. Tim, what's the website? Took a long time to come up with that one. njeda.com. We hired a consulting firm that spent 6 months coming up with that website. njeda.com. And again, the application window for the program has been extended to December 20. And there is so much more throughout our administration, and I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the ongoing efforts of Sarah and her team at the Department of Human Services in connecting residents with necessary supports. So fighting hunger is not a battle that the Community Food Bank and others are taking on alone. We are all committed to the fight against hunger. In his Thanksgiving proclamation way back in 1935, as our nation continued its slow yet steady climb out of the depths of the Great Depression, President Franklin Roosevelt said the following, and I quote the President, "In traversing a period of national stress, our country has been knit together in a closer fellowship of mutual interest and common purpose." Well said. Well, we have similarly traversed a period of national stress. And in this moment in New Jersey, there should be no greater mutual interest and no greater common purpose than ensuring that every member of our New Jersey family has enough to eat, that no child goes to school hungry, that no parent goes to work hungry, that no senior goes to bed hungry, and that no community should lack in fresh and nutritious food, and not just during the holiday season, but every day. Again, I am so proud that the legislature and I could provide this vital support, and I'm incredibly proud and honored, Carlos, to be back at this august institution. And again, to you and your colleagues and board members, this is a gem in our state. I mentioned earlier that it is a singular high priority and passion for the Speaker, and that is food insecurity, food deserts, addressing hunger in this state. We could not have a better leader or a better partner. Please help me welcome the Speaker of the General Assembly, Craig Coughlin.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to be here. Nice to see everybody. And this is a place that I've become familiar with. It's a place that I always feel welcome at. The staff here, the folks here, Carlos and his whole team always make me feel at home. And I suspect that's true for most of you. And for the people who volunteer here, thank you for that. And thank you, Governor, for that incredibly kind introduction. Thank you, Mayor, for welcoming us, hosting us, and letting us be in your community. To Mark Dingleson, who I believe you'll hear from later, and Secretary Fisher, thank you for being such great partners in moving this forward. And to all of my legislative colleagues who are here, Annette and Reggie and Ileana, thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you have done in taking on this issue and being part of the great success that New Jersey really has achieved in this area. This is something we really ought to be proud of. And it's important that we continue that fight, right? While the fight around it continues all of the time. I think it's, particularly at this time of giving, it's kind of an interesting dichotomy. It's the time when people are most generous. It's also the time when you look at around and you see the compelling need, perhaps in a way that you haven't looked at it in the other times of the year. And this year, I think we all recognize that there was a particular challenge in getting enough turkeys for Thanksgiving. So the work goes on, and we'll continue to do that. And it truly takes a village to put this together. And I think the governor captured the holistic approach that we have taken to this, because we know that no one should feel the pangs of hunger. No one should wake up every day with their first job being figuring out how to feed themselves and figure out how to feed their family. And yet millions of Americans and too many people here in even the wealthy state of New Jersey face that challenge each and every day. And so I commend the network of food banks and pantries, advocates, community organizers, state agencies and departments, legislators, neighbors, people who just genuinely care and are tireless in their efforts to take on the challenge of beating what is an insidious enemy, and the challenge keep coming. Right? First, we were making progress, I think, and then the pandemic came. 2 million unemployment claims came along with that. And now as we return back to normal and joblessness is going down, we have inflation. So it'll keep throwing curveballs at us, and we're just going to have to keep fouling them off until we get a fastball that we can drive out of the park, and we can, because we've prioritized it. The governor outlined some of the things that we have done, and we've passed, I think, 30 bills the governor has signed. 30 bills the governor has passed. Signed, including the first and only in the nation food security advocate. I don't know of another state that probably even thought about including in an economic development package a way to address food insecurity, and nobody does that except us. I had the privilege of being invited to the White House Conference of Food Insecurity, and I can tell you, and Mark and Carlos were there as well, and I can tell you the stuff that other states looked at as aspirational goals, we looked at mile markers we've passed already on the way to the next generation. That's how we've done it. But we've done it by making a priority, and that doesn't happen without the support of my colleagues. That doesn't happen without the support of the Senate, both Senate President Sweeney before him and now Senate President Scutari. And of course it doesn't happen without the leadership and vision of the governor, who has made this a priority as well. We've done an inordinate amount of good things, taking on college campus challenges. I didn't know it. I've said this to many of you so many times before, you're probably sick of hearing it. But the truth of the matter is, when my kids went off to college, my kids are only kids to my wife and me. They're now 33 and 30 and 27, but they'll always be my kids. We worried about the freshman 15. We didn't worry about food insecurity, and yet that is a constant problem on college campuses as demographics change, as students change. The challenge is there as so many people go off and chase the American dream. We've streamlined the SNAP process because we know things like WIC and SNAP are underutilized, and so we need to figure out ways to do that. And we haven't stopped. As the governor pointed to, $85 million. That's 3 times what it was the year before, because we recognize the challenges that people were facing in terms of inflation, in terms of their need, in terms of digging out of the hole that they're in, because we know we can win the fight against food hunger. We don't have a food shortage. We have a getting people food shortage, right? And we have a challenge. And our challenge is, and we've talked about this before, is we're on to the next generation already, right? We've got to make sure we're not feeding everybody, and we need to continue to do that. We need to continue to encourage people to donate. We need to bring ourselves together, and make sure we make it the most effective and efficient program. And I have great confidence that that's what Mark Dingleson is going to do. So we're feeding everybody at the primary level, but we can do more. And the next steps are taking people along the line from food insecurity to food security. As I've said before, it's an educational process. First, we'll feed them, and then we'll help them learn and make sure they get the benefits that they're entitled to, the social programs that we've put in place to help them, right? And doing that in a way, and I congratulate Mark. First place I saw it, maybe other places are doing it as well. He allocated space at QMAC when he was there to helping somebody so that they have somebody who can walk them through the SNAP application process and other processes, right? Think about how comforting that must be. Because people who come to food pantries are struggling. They're in a tough place. They often are, concerned about the stigma that goes along with it. They can face language barriers, have all those things. Imagine, because I don't know about you guys. I go on some website and I'm trying to register for something. There's lots of cursing involved. There's lots of time wasted. There's finally a capitulation to the notion that I need to get my kids to help me because I just can't do it. But imagine, and I'm a pretty good reader. So imagine that somebody who doesn't have all of those advantages being able to struggle through this, as opposed to sitting down with somebody who in 10 minutes can walk you through it and you're getting the benefits you need. And so we need to do that. And then we move them along the process and we make sure they understand the importance of not just eating food, but nutritional food and the impact that can have. And then we help them find educational resources and we continue to move them to the point where they're finally food secure. And when we do that, we'll change their lives. And if we do that enough times, we'll change the world. That's what you guys are doing each and every day. You're helping to change the world. And the governor and the leaders in the Assembly and the leaders in the Senate are helping to do that too. We're so fortunate to have such commitment at the very top level of the government to help make that a change. So we need to keep fighting. We need to keep coming up with new and better ways. We have to build on our successes and be thankful for that. And so, Governor, thank you for bringing us together today to talk about our great success in New Jersey. We often hear, you and I in particular, I guess we'll hear an awful lot about where New Jersey's 32nd in this or 48th in that or, wherever. In this one, we've got to be number one. And it's as good as our public education system. And let's be proud of that. Let's celebrate what we've done in New Jersey, and let's say that's a great start. Let's keep going. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for what you do. Thank you for letting me be with you today. Appreciate it.
Craig, awesome. That was so well done. I underscore 2 points you made. We may be getting through the pandemic, but interest rates are going up, not down. Inflation has been high. I'm hoping that'll change sooner than later. I don't have to tell Carlos this and his colleagues, but that's put a lot more pressure on organizations like this. So we're going to stay in the fight. And then secondly, colleges. I mentioned John and Dorothea Bon Jovi's Soul Kitchen. They're in Red Bank, they're in Toms River, and importantly, they're on campus at Rutgers Newark for that very reason. There's a shocking amount of food insecurity among college kids. So thank you, Speaker, for everything you do. Please help me welcome representing our cabinet today and the several members who are here. Sarah and Tim will join me in celebrating the fact that we're going to hear from Secretary of the New Jersey Department of Agriculture, outstanding leader. Please help me welcome Doug Fisher. Nice to see you, man.
Thank you, Governor, Speaker, Mayor, my colleagues, some former in the Assembly and some new. And all the others that are assembled here today. It just strikes me how extraordinary this is, that it's basically one team. We're all working together, doing something that is so important, so necessary, and being done so well. And every time I come back to Hillside, to Food Bank, I see just an amazing operation and a team that is so well-oiled, knows what they're doing, knows how to do it, and really accomplishes great work. And I commend you every day for what you do day in and day out, providing meals to the food insecure residents of New Jersey. And as the governor mentioned, each food bank, Community Food Bank New Jersey, Food Bank of South Jersey, Fulfill of Monmouth and Ocean, Mercer Street Friends, Norwest Cap, and the Southern Regional Food Distribution Center all do a great work in this network of EFOs, as they were called. Now, what we're here especially to do today, I think, is to talk about what the governor and the legislature appropriated, which is $85 million, which will bolster the resources they need to support so much that takes place here. So first of all, just doing that alone, please, and great applause to you and the legislature for doing that. You know, there's lots of money, has to go in the right places, and this is one of those absolute right places. Now, it's also important to know that a portion of this money, I think this is a new feature. A portion of it that will be spent on fruits and vegetables will be spent on produce and vegetables, fruits and vegetables that are grown right here in the Garden State. And we're very pleased to be able to talk about that. Our food bank works with approximately 1,000 local distribution agencies, LDAs, which include food pantries, community kitchens, and shelters throughout the state. And as I said, that's an amazing network that is so well, works so well. An example of the services that were provided in September alone, these LDAs combined served almost 1 million meals in just the month of September. The New Jersey Department of Agriculture houses also TFAP, which is the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and last year you all were able to distribute 22 million pounds of food allocated to the food banks, which equals 27 million meals. That's a lot of mouths. That's a lot of people that are getting served. And so we're really so proud of that. So, you know, my remarks are really, I wanted to be brief. I think the governor outlined and the speaker outlined extraordinarily what's taking place here, but I just want to say thank you to all our partners here. And as you know, I've worked with Carlos now for how many years, Carlos? 13, 14 years. And just to see what you and your board have done to continue to grow, to serve the needs of those that are less fortunate is just fabulous. So I just want to say on behalf of the Department of Agriculture, Governor, you said I was speaking for the cabinet. We have Sarah here. We have Tim here. You know, they work very hard each and every day. We all do to make sure that what takes place here almost goes, you know, is almost seamless. And we're so thrilled, frankly, to be here to talk about the money and what it's going to do. And I guess, Carlos, you're going to talk about what that money's going to do, some of the other features about not just buying food, but some other things to make this operation even better and stronger each and every day. So thank you.
Thank you, Doug, and amen to your comments and everything you do, and thanks for your leadership. I mentioned Mark Dingleson is in a category of 1 at the state level in America as the director of the Office of the Food Security Advocate. And as the speaker said, that's, you know, you're always looking for the badges of honor that you wear with great pride, and boy, that is one of them. Please help me welcome Mark Dingleson. Mark? Look the part, Mark.
Good morning. Leave it to me to develop some kind of a cough that I can't shake during my first public appearance with the governor to talk about food security. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. Let me start off by saying thank you to Mayor Vertrees for kicking us off. Let me say thank you to Carlos and the awesome team here at the food bank. I still remember when I first met Carlos in 2018, he and I were standing in the rain, and I was like, bro, I like what you're about to try and do. I'm in. So I don't know if you remember that we were standing in front of your little hatchback car, which, do you still drive it? Gosh, it's very embarrassing. So let's all go out to that car with Carlos. So thank you to the Community Food Bank team. I want to say thank you to Speaker Coughlin and to the legislators that are here. Speaker, it's been such an honor to get to know you, your team, and to work with you, and I'm looking forward to all that we're going to do together. And I want to say thank you to Governor Murphy for your leadership and commitment to the work of empowering families in New Jersey and creating food security for our state. I was running a frontline organization when I was first presented with the opportunity to sign petitions for the creation of this office. And I thought to myself, an office whose sole purpose can be to lift up and help coordinate ongoing food security work in our state, create multi-sector partnerships that can support that work, and continuously enhance and inform the work through outcomes-driven, community-centered research and best practices. We need that. And my second thought was, I wonder who they're going to rope in to run that office. I am so honored and so humbled to be able to serve our state as the first food security advocate in the country. Because you see, ending hunger has to be about more than giving people food. And Speaker alluded to it. Ending hunger is about creating food security. And food security, true food security, exists when all people at all times have physical, economic, and social access to safe, sufficient, and nutritious food that serves both dietary and cultural preferences for an active and healthy lifestyle. And I affirm what Speaker shared. We were in DC and we were listening to other states, and I promise you all, here in New Jersey, we have all the pieces we need to make such a grand vision a reality. I really hope you're all as excited as I am for the opportunities that lay before us. We have a governor that has set the tone, the pace, and the tenor for our food security work. We have leaders across our administration and in our partners in the legislature that believe in the vision of creating food security for the families of New Jersey. We have community-based organizations, health systems, food banks, and many other partners that are doing amazing work, and they're ready to collaborate with all of us. I'm looking forward to supercharging all of that through this office. It's going to take all of us continuously doing this work and never stopping. The only time we're going to fail is when we stop trying. So as we head into the holidays, as we become very cognizant of what families are going through, let's never stop trying. Let's do it together. Onward and upward, everybody. We've got a lot of work to do. Thank you.
God bless you, right? Love it. Mark, that was awesome, and you're doing an awesome job. Carlos is going to bat cleanup for us, but I want to make two observations, one of which is particular to BJ and Lourdes. And Craig will remember this moment. One of your fellow now commissioners, Angela Gerritsen, approached a little huddle I was having with former Senate President Steve Sweeney, Senator Joe Cryan, also Union County, and myself, and begged us to change the racially tainted title of freeholder to commissioner. She then either had just had that same conversation, Craig, with you, or did it just after us, and all of us said, yes, we're going to do that. It was literally it was a light bulb moment, and I'm very proud of the fact that the leadership at the time, Senate President Craig and myself, worked diligently on that, and you are, I'm honored to say, county commissioners today. God bless you. So give Angela a shout out for us. And secondly, look at this history. Carlos met me at the other end of the timeline, 47 years. 47 years of making an enormous difference, not just in Hillside, not just in Union County, but in this state. So please help me welcome, representing the great team here at the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, its Chief Executive Officer, Carlos Rodriguez. Well done, buddy.
Wow. What a very generous welcome and remarks from everyone. So I am keeping you all from probably lunch, and as the head of the largest food bank, I will not prevent you from eating your next meal. So I'll make this quite short, but also hopefully connecting the dots between what everyone's already said. I have to say, as I'm sitting there listening to all the speakers, it is the first time in my 27-year career that everyone is explaining in unison what we do, how we do it, and what's next. And I got to tell you, only in New Jersey. Only in New Jersey. That was the sentiment, in fact, when we were at the White House. Welcome once again, Governor Murphy, members of the administration, Speaker Coughlin, members of the legislature, and distinguished guests. This administration and this team, in fact, is no stranger to the fight against hunger and for strengthening food security, as the podium states, for all of New Jersey. We know what the impact of comprehensive solutions, as you've already heard here today, can have on food security and on our neighbors. We saw it firsthand during the pandemic, and we don't tell this story enough. We held the line on how many would have been hungry and how many more would be food insecure today because of everything that you've heard and the legislative bills and the approach that we collectively locked arms to do. The estimate was that now there would be maybe 1.2 million food insecures in our state alone. Those are the estimates going into the pandemic. We're about half of that, and it's no secret why. It's a combination of state investments and pursuit of federal options that this administration, this legislation, this food bank, and our sister food banks actively went after. And we saw the line, whether it was to make sure that enhanced unemployments were there and delivered, that the SNAP program was enhanced, that we saw food distribution as an economic development opportunity for our farms and for our markets, that we created access with our private partners, Linda Welcome from representing food industry, to lock together. We had one vision, one purpose, not to just alleviate hunger, that bar's too low, but to create food security. Two very different things, and we are here right now not only celebrating what we know works, but as so many have said, what's left to do, indeed, Mark, and what's in front of us. The approach built on early food security and focus on these investments is really setting the stage for what we know and what we saw, what we witnessed in facts that happened firsthand. This is a positive impact for our neighbors. We saw how the lines went from being long with despair and distress to now being able to focus on what's next and how to recover. And there's challenges. Inflation still becomes persistent. Those turkeys cost a lot more and those roasters cost a lot more this year than they ever did. And that was a side of the bird flu pandemic as well. But we got the job done because we locked arms together. At Community Food Bank of New Jersey, our approach is comprehensive. It mirrors exactly the legislation and the work that you've heard described here today. And it's very simple. Let me simplify it for you. We provide food for that immediate need that exists right now so that someone who wakes up in the morning does not have to figure out if their first thing is, am I going to be able to feed myself and my family? They can figure out, what am I going to do to define success for myself today instead? They can figure out, how am I going to grow and go and learn and and develop into the best young adult? How can I live a healthy life now that I'm retired? That's the goal. That's the focus, and it's very simple, but it involves thinking beyond the everyday and the important work of handing out food. It requires eliminating barriers of health, making sure that the food is indeed nutritious, like the row of fresh produce that we've increased as part of our distribution from a mere 12 million pounds of food to now over 35 million pounds of food yearly. That makes up the nearly 85 million pounds of meals that we support throughout our network alone. That is thinking beyond just subsistence for now. It's thinking about how the food is going to fuel good health, how it's going to address, how we're going to not only look at making sure everyone who can get food, can get food, gets it, but look at each community and start exploring, what does an equity look like? Why is some food going to some communities and not to others? What's driving that inequity? And then leaning in and doing something about it. That's what we've learned to do. That's what, in partnership with so many amazing folks here, we're getting done today. And it's not just the food. It's when we meet our neighbor and providing substance. It's sitting down and saying, Are you aware of SNAP? Can we teach you about some of the produce that you may not be familiar with? two initiatives that we're so lucky to have significant growth in with our Department of Human Services partner, the SNAP-Ed program and the SNAP Outreach program, which we just expanded, and they just helped expand so that every food bank in every county is doing SNAP Outreach across the hundreds and thousands of pantries and soup kitchens that exist throughout the network. You don't just get food, you get now education to help you eat better, you get application assistance and a brand new portal that is so much more friendlier to use to get you the resources, to get us into the markets where everyone wants to go shop. That's our focus. That's our approach. That is the strategy that puts neighbors first and defines success around the changes in their lives. That's the only ROI that matters. Did we and are we in a dignified way able to change their lives and impact how they feed their families? And yes, let's celebrate the fact that we're on the path to realizing that. We've done something about it, but let's also humble ourselves by recognizing that there is more work to be done. There are 650,000 plus New Jerseyans that are still food insecure. And we have a roadmap to what progress looks like and what success can be. And you're right, while the President of the United States was talking about what could be done and what's going to be next, we were looking at each other saying, yeah, those are milestone moments for what we've already done in New Jersey. So let's build on that momentum. We know what has an impact, listening to our neighbors. This is what they want. Connecting resources, being familiar with the food around them so that they can go back to what we enjoy and define as normal in our lives is exactly what we want. Let's provide food and these services, not just in a couple of locations. Let's transform our network so that every pantry has an opportunity to look and be and provide what we're talking about today. And it's not just being able to address hunger and food insecurity, but as you've heard today, it is a means to fuel economic mobility for individuals, families, and communities alike. Because when you feed a child, you're feeding a future for that entire community. When you're providing them access to go shop in a local market, you're creating economic development and economic impact in that community. When you're buying locally from our local farmers, you're helping to avert perhaps the next supply chain issue that we all became too familiar with throughout the pandemic. And all of this is not something that the brain trust in this organization figured out on its own. We did this by doing something very simple. Listen to your neighbors. They know what they need. Let's help them reach and attain and connect these dots the way you've all heard here today. So there's work to do, and with the continued support of the governor and the legislation and private industry, we will continue to invest in our network. We'll continue to invest in the lives of our neighbors. We want to make sure that there is consistent availability to nutritious food that meets the community needs, as Mark described. We want to pair that food, pun intended, with services that drive impact toward food security, nutrition ed, SNAP outreach, workforce development. You can't go learn a new skill on an empty stomach. And so there are ways to really make sure that every pantry is connecting what we are now doing as an organization, what so many of my sister food banks are doing. And as we do that, let's make sure that we're addressing the health disparities along the way. We don't want to feed hunger, but create a health crisis in the process. And that's why so much more nutritious food and fresh produce is part of the recipe moving forward. And I think most importantly, as we tell this story of success, let's make sure that we do that with the voice of our neighbors front and center. It's their lives that we exist to help support and change, and it's their success that defines our success. Thank you, Governor, for helping us do that today, and welcome all to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey one more time.
Really well done. Well done, Carlos. Thank you, man. Thank you again to your team, to your board members, to the whole operation here at this extraordinary institution. As they say in Hollywood, it's a wrap. So on behalf of the Speaker, the Mayor, Carlos, Doug, Mark, our other dignitaries here, elected officials, board members, cabinet members, deep, deep thanks. Stay at it, folks. God bless.